Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Mark Andrew Holowchak, Ukrainian-American scholar, philosopher, and historian by profession. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Eye on Ukraine. Today, I want to talk about the meeting between Donald, first person singular, Trump, FPS, as I call him, and Vladimir Putin, president of Russia. There was a lot of excitement in Trump's eyes going into this meeting some 10 days ago on American soil in Alaska, or was it Russia? Who knows? Trump seems to think at times that Alaska is part of Russia. But anyways, it was a great opportunity for Trump. He relishes to have these sort of notions. It's a great opportunity to see himself with a very important person together. And there was the red carpet treatment for Putin. There were photo ops and all sorts of things. At the end of the day, nothing happened. Putin let Trump know in somewhat certain terms. I say somewhat certain because he's never all clear. He's always trying to give Trump the impression that he's eager for peace, but that Ukraine is blocking any realistic moves toward peace through unrealistic demands, when of course it's just the opposite. Now, after the failure, Trump went on Fox and Friends on Tuesday last week with Ainsley Earhardt and others, and had an interview to talk about what he considered to be a highly successful meeting. And I want to talk about this. And to do so, I want to share what actually happened at that meeting. It says Trump begins, it's not a war that should have happened. And Earhart says, Mr. President, did you all discuss any land swaps yesterday? Because we've talked a lot about the Donbass region and what was feeling in the room. Trump comes by with, yeah. Earhart, what did the other leaders say about this? And I want to focus that the italicized areas are my way of emphasizing 2 points here. One is Trump has a difficult time. It's impossible for him to stay focused on any one issue for any amount of time. And number two, he never says anything. He never says anything specific on any issue. And the reason for that is because he just doesn't follow global events with any degree of circumspection or accuracy. Doesn't know what's going on in the world, so he can't give you particulars. So everything he says is just very general. A lot of circumlocution here. Trump says, talking about what the other leader says, they understand. Look, they, M dash, everyone can play cute and this and that. And this and that. What does that mean? Everyone and this. But you know, Ukraine is going to get their life back. Ukraine is a nation. It doesn't have a life. I suspect it means Ukrainians are going to get their life back. In what capacity, that goes unspecified. Are they going to get their life back as members of the Russian Federation? Once again, if Trump had his way, I suspect that's what happened. He says they're going to have to stop having people killed all over the place, and they're going to get a lot of land. What is this lot of land? He keeps talking about land swaps. There's no suggestion of any swapping of land. Ukraine is going to have to give up some land, according to Trump, to end the war, at least if we want the possibility of peace, if we want the possibility of the killing to end. He keeps talking about the killing to end as if this is a very important desideratum for him. I suspect he does not care one bit. All he cares about is being the president who stops this complicated war, because he's already stopped 6. If you don't believe it, just ask him. All right. People are getting killed all over the place. Again, vague, no specifics, not talking about any specific places. They're going to get a lot of land. Ukrainians are going to get a lot of land. They're going to give up land. They're not getting any land. He goes, but this was a war, and Russia is a powerful military nation. You know, whether people like it or not, it's a powerful nation. It's a much bigger nation. Well, powerful and bigger are not the same thing. Russia is a lot larger than Ukraine. Russia is nearly twice as large as the United States. That does not make it a much more powerful nation. It is economically sluggard, and it has something like 140 million people, which is relatively makes it for such a large nation a relatively small nation. It also suffers acutely from brain drain, as many of the most intelligent people have left the country. So it's economically sluggish and intellectually laggard. He goes on to say, it's not a war that should have been started. Again, this is blaming Ukraine as if Ukraine should have, when Russia invaded, or if it wasn't Ukraine's fault for allowing for Eastern expansion of NATO. That's another Trump's tax. Um, it's not a war that should have been started. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for Trump to come in for the billionth time and say, if I were president, the war never would have started. You don't do that. You don't take a nation that's 10 times your size, right? And military experts look, if it wasn't for the greatest military equipment, we make the greatest military equipment in the world, and we gave them. Again, we go off talking about size and talking about military equipment. His brain is the neural circuits are broken in so many different ways. His mind just wanders like a child's mind. Jones interrupts and says, "So." Trump continues, whatever. They took probably a lot of money too. The suggestion here is Ukraine stole American $350 billion of American money, when in fact United States gave um, Ukraine some 110, $130 billion, not 350. Trump makes these numbers up. At one point, he said it was 300 billion. He goes, "Well, I'm not sure of that." Then a week later, he says 350 billion. He stuck to that. He likes that number for some reason. He says, and military experts, look, if it wasn't for the greatest military equipment, we make the greatest military equipment in the world, and we gave them. Jones, so whatever, they probably a lot of money, but they had tremendous, they had the Patriot missile, which is the best in the world, all the equipment. We make the best equipment in the world by far. Everyone else is like nothing. Another very specific claim. Everyone else is like nothing, whatever that's supposed to mean. So we gave them a lot of equipment. Now, with that said, the Ukrainian soldiers were brave as hell. Past tense, Donald, why? Are they not brave anymore? Now he slips into the present tense because they're fighting a force that's much bigger and, in theory, much more powerful. Why he adds theoretically is unclear. This is some concession on his part that Ukraine is doing a hell of a fine job in the war. And it's not like they've stopped. I assume you've all seen the map, a big chunk of territory is taken. That territory has been taken. So he qualifies a remark, a big chunk of territory is taken. And of that taken territory, we know that that territory has been taken. So here we have Donald Trump, all his glory and wisdom, helping us here understand what's been going on in the war. Now, I want to turn to another issue. I mean, I said before, I wasn't expecting much of this meeting because nothing ever happens. Trump keeps making claims. Putin has 50 days to do something, or I'm going to impose secondary sanctions on anybody who does business with them and cripple their oil. Then that turns to, when he gets angry with Putin, that turns to 10 days or so, or a few days. And after meeting with Putin in Alaska now, Putin, it seems, has carte blanche to do whatever he wants. Trump, doesn't have any scheduled, again, here for, if you don't comply within a certain number of days, I'm going to impose sanctions. It seems this guy keeps making phone calls to Putin. And from what we know, they're frequent, and Putin constantly talks to him and preaches to him about the evils of Ukraine, about the injustice of the whole situation. And that seems to placate Trump. Why is this guy talking to Putin, who's a murderous villain, a rogue, a rapscallion? Now, so the whole notion, as I said, I wasn't expecting anything to happen. Nothing did happen. I want to take that back. I argued that something did happen. What was that? Putin sent Trump a wonderful picture of the two. Here we have a depiction of it. I'll get it closer. The dynamic duo, first person singular, and Vladimir Putin. He says, and I'll talk about this a little bit later again, but I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay, of me, but nice of him. In other words, to send me the picture. I look good in that. First person singular, FPS. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Um, this is, again, part of the propagandist bullshit that goes on all the time with respect to Trump, right? Trump is easily played by Putin. He's played in many respects just like a 5-year-old might be played, with certain relatively simple enticements, playing to Trump's ego. I'll send you a picture of the two of us together, and we sit there as equals. And Trump likes that. Uh, Now, this picture was shown at the Oval Office last Friday. Um, Trump showed off the picture to all the people in the office, his minions, and so forth. He was ready to announce the World Cup be hosted uh, in the United States. And he says, I was just sent, he holds up this picture, I was just sent from somebody that wants to be there very badly. He's been very respectful of me and our country, but not so respectful of others. He wants to be there. He wants to be at that meeting to resolve the war. Right? The naive is, Trump is abundantly naive. Putin has no desire to end the war. And I doubt there are any conditions under which he might be enticed to end the war. A failure for him to come up with some signal victory, if not by taking significant Ukrainian territories, will mean he'll be ousted from office and liquidated. Trump goes on, he says, well, I want to iterate that notion. He says he's been very respectful of me and of our country, but not so respectful. He's willing to forgive. You notice he doesn't talk about his criminality, about his murderous, sanguinary streak, about the many millions of people that have died because of him, right? The thing is, Trump likes him because he's been very respectful of me, but not so. Notice he just used respectful, not so respectful of others. Not that he murders and slaughters other people, not that he's a war criminal, but he's not so disrespectful. He'll say things like, I'm not happy with him, but he never does anything about it. Keep that in mind. Every time he opens his mouth, he meets with other NATO leaders and talks about, okay, here's our plan, this and that. He doesn't do anything. He's unwilling to pump any money. And to what extent he's willing to help through selling arms to NATO leaders, that's unclear as well. Now, Trump goes on and says, I'm going to sign this for him but I was sent one and I thought you'd like to see it. That's a man named Vladimir Putin, who I believe will be coming, depending upon what happens. He may be coming and he may be not. Depending upon what happens, we have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay, of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Right. Trump goes on to talk about that they're trying to arrange bilateral meetings between Zelensky and Putin. We heard from Lavrov and other people that this just can't happen. Ukraine's not ready for the meetings. Russia's not ready because Ukraine says no, according to Lavrov, to everything, right? Russia wants land of Ukraine. Russia wants, if there are to be any security agreements, Russia needs to be a part of those agreements. PACE, the Budapest Memorandum that Russia signed, and of course, Russia violated. So what I want to say, is the situation is sort of ridiculous. Putin knows how to play Trump. The fact that they talk on the phone, this is unacceptable. Should not be talking to a murderous dictator. the most dangerous person on the planet at this time. Trump treats him as his friend. He likes Putin because Putin respects him, or at least he pays lip service to that. Putin doesn't give a damn about Trump. He knows that he can play Trump, and he's been doing it successfully in the past. He will continue to do so. Anything that comes out of the mouth of Trump should be taken cum grano salis, should not be taken seriously, because Trump, in spite of his unhappiness, right? Here he says when they dropped, when they bombed the American electronics manufacturer, I told him I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about anything having to do with the war. Again, very general things. I'm not happy about it. What am I going to do? Well, probably not going to do anything as usual. I never do anything. Anyway, what I tried to show here is that for those of you who think that nothing happened with that wonderful meeting between Putin and Trump in Alaska, which is part of Russia, according to Trump, I want to argue no, something very, very important happened. Trump got a beautiful picture of him standing next to his buddy Putin that he's signed, he'll probably frame and place it in a prominent position in the Oval Office. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like it, please share it, and TTFN. We'll do this on another occasion. Thank you.